You're asking me really hard
Sorry.
questions today.
It's Monday morning. That's why it's hard.
I'm going to go with a really easy answer. Taylor Swift.
Ooh, do tell. With Travis or without Travis?
Ooh. It doesn't matter.
This is On Call.
Well, this would be really cool to just wear scrubs all the time. Then you don't have to think about what you're going to wear to work.
Joke is awesome. We're here to answer your questions. We can sit down and discuss them. Wait, I gotta go. I'm on call.
Wait, you're on call? I thought I was on call. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of On Call with April and Alicia. I'm Alicia.
I'm April.
I'm Tiffany.
Hello.
We have a guest.
We've got another guest in the call room. Welcome, Tiffany. So for those of you that have followed us from the beginning, Tiffany Coyle was on with us last March, right, Tiff?
Yeah, it was probably almost a year ago, I would say.
Yeah. So we're bringing Tiffany back. Tiffany's our Chief Operating Officer for Sound Physicians, and we're really excited to bring her back and have her give us a little bit of an update from where we were last year in some of our discussions during Women's History Month. So thanks again, Tiffany, for joining us early on a Monday morning. Happy Monday, ladies.
It's Monday.
It is.
You can hear by the silence. Nobody even heard a thing yet. Coffee's not kicked in. Nothing's happened.
Well, when you guys called me this morning, you could see me counting numbers on my fingers. So that shows you how my brain's working.
That's exactly, for those that can't see, we're on video and we all pop in and Tiffany's doing finger math. And it just kind of made me giggle. Actually, I'll just tell this part before we get into the episode. But we were talking about math this morning, Maddox and I. We're going to school and out of the blue, he just goes, I really don't understand the point of all this math we do. And I said, well, like you need, right? But he was like, I was like, you need math for like your accounts. Speaking of, I was hacked my bank accounts. You need to know how much money, how to balance a checkbook, but also like how to pay for things, in pharmacy, you need to know that. And in med, like there's all these different applications of math. I was like, I know it's frustrating. He goes, no, I'm not talking about that, Mom. This is like really simple. Like, why am I doing a line? Is it called like line graph, line bar? Something that they do now? Have you heard of that?
In like algebra, they do a lot of like linear equations where they're
no, this is literally a line bar. Like, it is this bar where it makes them take 16 or 17 extra steps to like figure out an equation or figure out something he's like, I could do it without it, but he fails the question if he doesn't show how he did it on some line bar thing.
That's like
the common.
Is it common math or something or new math?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he goes, this is practically stupid. Basically, is what he said. He's like, and like for context, he's 9, So I was like, well, why do you think that's? And he was like, because I can figure it out in my head, but I get the problem wrong if I don't show them how I did it. But I can't really tell them how I did it. It's just how I showed them. He was like, but does it matter if I did it the way they wanted to or if I got it right? And I was like, well, these are all great questions you ask your math teacher. And he goes, no, but seriously, Mom, what am I going to be? Like, I don't know. I'm a big adult. And I'm like, sorry, sir, hold on. Let me pull my line bar out before I give you your change from the register. And he like had this whole, like he was going off about it this morning. And I was like, oh, yeah, I don't remember math being that challenging for us.
Well, we didn't learn it that way. Like I remember during COVID when they were doing like homeschool.
Yep.
And I was trying to help them with math. Like I was like, and they were like, Mom, why don't you know how to do this? And I said, because when we were kids, we just added or subtracted or divided. And that was it. Like we didn't have to do all these pictures and all the things. So I had to like go back and watch their lectures to learn how to do what they were supposed to do.
Which is weird because you think like if you have a question and let's say like show your work. I do remember that from school, but we were Montessori. So we just did things with beads and like we moved beads around and like this 10 yellow bead thing represented hundreds, excuse me, Mike, represented hundreds or represented this. And in my mind, when I do math, I like shift beads around. It's the weirdest thing, but it was all memorization or like really understanding principle and just being able to execute it. Maybe a or what do they call it? The calculator, scientific calculator that you have to get
the graphic
when you're in high school. Yeah.
And
but I mean, it's not like you could walk around with those, but now every day we're walking around with a phone in our pocket or, something that's doing math. AI just does it for you because you say the word SIRI and she will answer your question. You didn't even ask her. So I think that's what like our kids are going through now. But like I kind of understand them, because if it's like a show your work thing, does it matter if you got the question right? Like if we all arrive there differently, but we get it right. That's the part that frustrates me. And I also feel like as an adult, I paid my dues. I don't think that I should have to learn new math.
Yeah. I think the purpose of Common Core math, I never really understood it.
That's what it's called, Common Core.
It's to try to teach kids to do things in their head, because you like round up and round down to get like close to the answer, I feel like, and then you have to use the whatever's left to kind of get to the real answer. But I'm with you. I would just prefer to like draw out my long division.
Right. Or like even I was thinking about like multiplication when I was in school. There was no like, I don't remember, so I may be misquoting this because I'm a couple years removed from where my kids were with that, but it was something like if it was 7 times 8, then you go like 7 dots down and like 8 dots to the right. And like you had to like make this thing, and like you would draw all these dots out, and then you go like, okay, so the answer is that. We just had to memorize them. We had like cards, and you had to do it under 60 seconds and just do it and commit it to memory. But now it's like, it is a long process. And I'm like, well, if this is new math, then our economy is going to stink in about 20 or 30 years, unless AI takes it all over. But gosh, who's going to program that with common math? So anyway, that's my stupid story from the weekend. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Yep. Anything new?
Not really, just spring sports starting up. It's getting warmer outside.
It is getting warmer. It's kind of nice, huh?
It's nice.
Tiffany's near me. It's going to be warm for us in the next week or two, like 70s or something.
Yeah, it's going to be fake spring.
It is.
I'm sure we're going to have like a rebound to winter, like just to punish us all, but I will enjoy the fake spring.
Any day. I was telling somebody the other day that we had like 60 or something degree weather a couple weeks ago, and then like on a Saturday night it was a big thunderstorm, and the next day it was snowing.
No,
I was like, Mother Nature she's just upset right now. I don't know what's going on with her, but all right. Well, as we normally do, we did do an episode of Let's Break the Ice with Tiffany on the last time that she was with us, but we thought it would be just good for those who didn't hear that episode. Go back and listen to that. Actually, I would encourage you guys all to go back and listen to this episode that we did with Tiffany last March. We'll put the episode number in the show notes just so that you guys can reference that. But it would be great for you to go back and listen to Tiffany's story then, and then how we're really excited to build on that story today. But Tiffany, in typical on-call fashion style, we're going to start with another quick series of Let's Break the Ice. Is that good with you?
Yes.
All right, April, you get to go first.
Oh, I get to go first.
Yeah.
All right, Tiffany. I always get to go first. What TV show are you watching right now?
Ooh, so I'm actually in the middle of a couple right now. I'm in the middle of 1923, which is the prequel to Yellowstone. Okay. I do not like Yellowstone. Just by the way, I'm not a huge Yellowstone fan.
Is Kevin Costner? He's in that one, right? Kevin Costner.
Not the prequels.
Okay.
So the prequels actually more of like the history of the journey out west, and so I really am enjoying that. I'm watching The Pit with my daughter, and then my son and I are watching Severance, my oldest son.
Okay.
So what's Severance?
I gotta keep going. So
I think firing immediately. I'm like, Severance package.
It's this like I'm not very far in. So he doesn't live here, so I'm like we watch them and then like talk about it. I have a couple episodes to catch up on, but Severance is this concept where when you're at work, you like go through this process where you have no outside memories of anything besides just work. And then when you leave work, you have no memories of work.
Sign me up.
Yeah, I know I'm thinking it turns not great, however. But have you guys watched The Pit?
No.
So it's this new it's Noah Wiley in it. Isn't it? Remember the guy from ER?
It's about my favorite first medical show ever.
He's now an experienced ER attending.
Oh, okay.
Ooh, he wasn't the resident anymore.
There's 12 episodes, and each episode represents 1 hour of the shift.
Oh, I think I saw like trailer for that.
Yeah, it's actually
yes.
pretty, and it's not like Grey's is so much like it's like a medical soap opera.
Shocking
kind of.
asystole. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
this is actually an emergency room physician is one of the writers and practicing emergency room physician. And so
Oh,
there
cool.
are some things that are a little off, but I think it's probably one of the more realistic healthcare shows that I've seen.
Oh.
But yes, we're watching that. That's pretty
I'll have to
exciting.
check it out.
Yeah.
My favorite healthcare show ever was House, but that was because of his attitude.
Oh,
I
yeah.
loved
yeah.
it. And I knew it wasn't real. It's like, oh, doctors, they do ultrasounds and they actually like put you through CAT scan and MRI and they put your IV in and they do like the docs in House did everything. There was like no other supportive staff ever, but I
No
just
nurses.
liked,
Yeah.
I liked House. I liked his energy. Okay. All right.
So I
Tiffany.
have a quick funny
Oh.
story real quick. So my daughter and I are watching The 100. Have you guys seen this?
No, what is
I
that?
know the premise of it, but I've never seen it. Where there's like 100 people left on Earth.
Yeah, so yeah,
Is
so
this
there
like
was
this is not reality? This is
no. So it
No,
was
I
like-
know, not reality. I meant reality show. I'm sorry.
Oh no,
Or
it's
like
not
a
reality
Squid
show.
Games type of thing.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay.
So it's like the premise of it is like, yeah, there was gonna be, like there was like a nuclear bomb that was gonna go off, and this group of people lived in space on something called the Ark for a long time, and then they sent down 100 kids basically to see if Earth was survivable. So we're watching it, and we watched like 3 episodes last night, and then I like went to bed, and I dreamt that we were in the show. And we're like in this, there's like these people in the show that like attack other people. And so this morning where I'm like driving her to school and she's like, "How are you, Mom?" And I'm like, "I'm kind of tired." And she's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I was in the 100 all night last night." And she was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I was dreaming that we were in this battle and like this guy." And she was like, "Did they kill us?" I'm like, "No, the guy saved us." And we were like talking about all the characters and she was like, "You are crazy."
Yes.
I was like, "I'm really tired because I was fighting all night in my dreams." So anyways, there you go.
Well, I only dream about weather. Okay. So, all right, Tiffany, what is one thing that you wish, I mean, you're a leader in sound. We know you through professional relationships and then obviously relationships that have developed from there. But what's one thing that you wished people knew about you? Not corporate Tiffany, just Tiffany.
Oh.
Got her. Put in the Jeopardy music.
I know, that's a hard
That's a
one.
tough one. I don't even know
I
what I
mean,
would
here's
say.
what I would say. I don't think, I don't know, like either of you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I do feel like I'm pretty open about who I am and the way I show up at work every day. And so I don't think that there's that much that people don't know about me. Like I don't feel like there's a significant part of myself that I hide in the way that like, or not hide, maybe that's a bad word, but that I like show up every day.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I was
Maybe,
thinking.
I mean, if I had to say something, maybe sometimes if people don't know me really well and they just interact with me on a call, sometimes people assume I can be a little more harsh, maybe, because I'm just kind of like, hey, like, how's everybody? Let's get started on this.
Mhm.
But I don't know.
I'll tell you the reason I asked you that question is because I think when we think of corporate execs, your chief operating officer for sound, those people historically, and April, you probably agree for us as we were working our way up through leadership, felt really untouchable. They almost feel not human. And that it's this kind of gap between us and them. And one thing with you is you kind of olive branch through that gap. So I was just kind of curious what your thoughts would be about maybe misconceptions around your role or your accessibility.
Oh, I guess then I would say I'm probably more sensitive than what people realize.
Okay.
I think people probably assume because of the way I speak and the connotation and the words that I use that I'm not as sensitive as I actually am sometimes, and I do get my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
and
Hey.
different things. But yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't mean, hey, I'm glad you get your feelings
Yeah,
hurt.
like, hey.
But it's
Hurt your
normal because
feelings
sometimes
today.
leaders feel like superheroes. Like if you think about it, you're like, do they even have lives? Do they have kids? Do they have feelings? Do they
Yeah.
have they gone through anything? They possibly can't know my hardship. That's why I asked that question, because especially talking about what we're going to talk about today. All right, April, you're up.
All right. So we were just talking earlier about how like spring weather's coming, all that stuff. So what is your favorite part of the spring season, Tiffany?
Spring break.
Hey.
Do you have plans for spring break this year?
We're going to Disney World.
Oh, nice.
So we're gonna do a week in Disney World, and then we fly home on Sunday, and then my daughter and I have to fly back a few days later for All-Star Cheer Worlds.
Yay, go cheer.
Yay.
That's a rough life. Hey, Tiffany, we were there this weekend, and it was a cheer, or actually it was dance and volleyball all in the same place. And yay, weekend sports.
That's a lot.
It really
A lot
is.
of people, a lot of
Well,
noise, a lot of
and I actually love the sport itself. I do. And but it's just really loud,
yeah.
and it's dark, and there's like sparkly. It's just very overwhelming to me, like with every set, like all you could smell is like hairspray and perfume, and it's dark with
And
like
sparkles.
club disco lights, and there's like bass music in the background, and it's like just extremely overstimulating.
I
I can
love
see
the
that.
dichotomy of that, April. If you get into that point where club volleyball intersects with cheer or dance, it is one of the
Yeah.
funniest things you'll ever see. And anybody listening will know when you're at a like a convention center, and you've got like stinky volleyball players walking through these like perfectly coiffed dancers or cheer people with their like sparkles in their perfect outfits in volleyball. Like they smell. They don't wash their knee pads for a reason, because it's like they get superstitious around it. Like it is the weirdest dichotomy, and it's also a long day. But both parents go through the same laborious weekend. So I feel your pain there. All right. My last question. So last time we asked you, I just remembered, April, we asked her about her comfort, like her go-to food, and she said bagels. She eats bagels every morning. That's what she said in the very first one. So I'm not going to ask that one, but I did want to put that one out there. All right, Tiffany, my last question. If you could have dinner, we asked this question to most of our guests, but if you could have dinner with any historical figure, dead or alive, who would it be?
Ooh. You're asking me really hard questions today.
It's Monday morning. That's why it's hard.
I'm going to go with a really easy answer. Taylor Swift.
Ooh, do tell. With Travis or without Travis?
Ooh. It doesn't matter. She's the main star in that.
Isn't she? Tell me why.
I mean, I could definitely pick some really like knowledgeable, historic, important figures that, have made amazing contributions to society. But I do feel like if you look at her and what she has accomplished in her industry as a singer and a songwriter, has really done some, broken a lot of records, and has really kind of been at the forefront of that in the industry. And I think it'd be a really fun dinner.
Yeah,
I think you're right. And she'd probably pay for it too. So you could go somewhere nice and no one would bother you. That's my dream world.
You have the whole place to yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, that was fun. Okay. In all seriousness here, we brought Tiffany back on our last episode with Tiffany about a year ago. We talked to Tiffany about imposter syndrome, and she shared a reflection on our Women of Sound meeting that we have internally to our company, and really, really impacted a bunch of people. What was interesting was I had, like a couple people within different departments that reached out to talk about your talk, Tiffany, and that's why we were really, really excited to have you on the first time. But since that time, there's been some pretty cool changes in your world professionally, and I thought we'd bring you back to talk about those. So why don't we start first with, why don't you intro you, tell us a little bit of your sound story or your life story, doesn't have to be to sound, and what has changed since last year?
So I think last year when we spoke, I was regional president of what was then known as Gateway Region, which was kind of like our eastern, Midwest, Northeast section of the country. And I am now the chief operating officer of hospital medicine and emergency medicine.
Yeah. That was a big, that was the first thing we were like, we can't wait to bring Tiffany back to the
Yeah, I know. Yeah, really big. It's been, I think it'll be a year in April, May, maybe. And some days it feels very natural and it feels like I've been doing this a long time. And other days it feels like I still haven't figured out quite what to do.
Yeah.
I know the feeling.
But for those that didn't meet you on the previous episode and aren't listening to the instructions and following them, as I would not, tell them a little bit how you got to Sound, where you started.
So I came to Sound in 2014. I actually just had my 11th anniversary.
Hey, yummy.
On Valentine's Day. So I came to Sound from a healthcare hospital setting, and had kind of done a bunch of different things in the hospital side, and was in the role prior to Sound was a director of quality and case management at a hospital system. And then if you kind of look at the trajectory of my career, I feel very blessed and very lucky by just getting to work with super great people who saw something in me that maybe I didn't see in myself at that time. Yep. But had started out, so I'd started college, got pregnant, quit college, went back to work, and actually I became a health unit coordinator at a hospital in Cincinnati because it paid at the time what was pretty decent money in 2000. I think I made $10.25 an hour.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I'm making $12.
I know. And I worked as a huck in one of the hospitals over downtown, and did that for a long time. I think for probably about 3 years. It's crazy.
So then you came to Sound. How'd you get to Sound?
The journey kind of has this really weird, long winding road where, so when I was a huck, then I went over and I got a big raise. I went to $12.75 an hour.
Woo! Rich.
I know. And I became an administrative assistant for what was then called the Nursing Professional Practice Organization. So basically it was the nurses had kind of started in that journey of Magnet, where they kind of had committees of nurses that did self-governance in the hospital. So I was an AA supporting them, and I did like help out with the people who are running Joint Commission and accreditation. And then I had an amazing boss who, right up the road, there was a community college. It was called Cincinnati State, which is still a really great, fantastic community college in the community. It's really more known for their like trade and technical schools. They do a lot of associate degrees around like imaging and, like medical lab techs and kind of a lot of that associate degree imaging or technology type work. But I still had to complete my general credits and stuff. So she would let me leave work on my lunch break, and I would drive down the road to Cincinnati State and take some classes because I had had about a year of college under my belt when I quit, and then I wanted to get all my gen eds done. So I did that for a few years, and then became a performance improvement analyst. So at that point, so I'm all still working at the same hospital. I graduated with my bachelor's because I had started night school. So I was picking up night classes because I could only go so far at Cincinnati State because they didn't offer bachelor's degrees. And I just kind of said, at NKU at that time because I had a conglomerate of credit hours. Like, what can I do to get out of here the fastest? Like, I just need a bachelor's degree.
Just need that piece of paper.
C equals
Yeah,
degree.
and so it was labor relations. So
Oh, wow.
so I finished my undergrad in labor relations and started working as like a performance
child.
improvement with a child.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I'm like, I have no idea how I ever did that. I literally have no idea how I survived. It was like, it's crazy town. It definitely wasn't. I would say if I would meet myself, have you seen those TikToks going around where it's like if I had coffee with my 25-year-old self
Yes.
today,
What
this
would
is what
we
I
talk
told
about?
her.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I would have said too late. It's like 25.
I would have just been like, I swear it gets better. Like, just keep going.
I really thought people died at 30. Like that's kind of was my belief. Or my mom was like, you should go into medicine. You should do med school. Like, and I was like, I will practically be done when I'm 30 and I'll be dead. Like in my mind, it was like the end of my life. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, I don't even know how I survived. Well, and I got at this point, I think, after I got my raise to $12.75 an hour, I lost my daycare assistance
Yeah.
because, then I was outside of
You're
the
making too much.
too much money.
Uh-oh.
So I made $12.75 an hour, and I think daycare was like $200 a week or something. I literally, I don't know how we got through, but we did.
It's finger math. That's line math.
Yeah, it was like
it
that's really when you had to know how much money, like dollars, were in your
You're
bank
making
account.
life decisions at a gas pump sometimes.
I remember when I got my paycheck, I would pay the full 2 weeks of daycare because I was so scared that I would, if something would happen and I wouldn't have the money, that I was like, I got to pay all of it for the next 2 weeks up front. But yeah, it was really, really life-changing, I think, for me as a person. I didn't really have any parental support. My grandparents were super involved and they kind of helped out when they could, not financially, but just with emotional support and different things like that. But yeah, so I became a performance improvement manager at this hospital. So by this time I had been there probably 6 or 7 years. And kind of, it was at University of Cincinnati, which is a huge hospital. It's the biggest hospital here where we live, but had kind of been involved in committees. I was kind of like the person who just knew everybody. Like when people would come in for tours of the hospital, I would give them the tours because I knew like all the ins and outs of all the departments. And because I had worked so much with like accreditation and patient safety campaigns, I was auditing, like I had to audit a lot of clinical charts and different things like that. So the vice president of patient, or the chief operating officer of that hospital left and went to a competing hospital. And she called me a couple months later and said, hey, I want to bring you over as a manager in performance improvement. So came over the day after I got to the hospital. It was announced that they were in an alliance. So there was like 7 or 8 hospitals in alliance. They shared all core essential services. This hospital was leaving the alliance. And because of the drama, so they were like the one hospital in the alliance that was making money. So because the other hospitals in the system were going to lose a ton of funding because they were pretty much getting subsidized by this hospital, they gave them a 90-day notice and they cut off all IT access. So started there, and within 90 days were brought up a brand new EMR. First hospital actually to go live with an EMR in Cincinnati.
Oh, really?
So Epic out of the box. Epic, we were
you
probably
got
like
Epic when they wore the construction.
We were
construction
probably like the
Epic.
10th user of Epic.
Yikes.
And it was a bunch of like 22-year-old college graduates who like never worked in healthcare before. So like brand new EMR, brand new lab system, brand new radiology system, brand new anesthesia system, like everything in 90 days. Jeez. That was crazy. Like that was like,
yeah,
that was absolutely crazy. Well, and worked there for a couple of years. And then somebody I worked with at university had moved on to a different hospital, called and said, hey, I want you to come over and be the director. So I had just really like always had this philosophy of if you put your head down and you work hard, that somebody sees a talent that you bring, and kind of always brought me along. And so that's how I ended up at Sound, because I was at a hospital working with a group of hospitalists who sold their practice to Sound. And they were like, hey, come over. We need like a operational dyad partner. We really enjoy working with you. Will you come over and do this with us? And I was like, sure. So I came over as a director in 2014.
Jeez.
Nice.
I know. It's
And then
crazy.
I'm gonna
right?
fast forward through some of it, because it was like when you were on the last one, and I don't want you to feel like you've got to repeat that part, because I want people to go back and listen. But you came to us. So you came in to Sound as a regional director, or no, not RDO.
I was an RDO.
You were, not practice
Yes.
manager for some reason. I apologize. So RDO to
RVP, to GVP, to RP, to COO.
So for people who don't know all of those lovely little terms, it's regional vice president to group vice president
To regional
president.
Yeah.
To
Chief operating
chief
officer.
operating officer. I love that. So on our last episode, you talked about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And what that meant for you. And at that time you were regional president. So tell us a little bit about imposter syndrome. Not too much, but just kind of recap what you were going through at that time and what that's like for you right now.
So, I think I don't want to kind of rehash it, because I think we've talked about it a ton, but the imposter syndrome is essentially just this general uneasiness about like who you are and do you belong and are you confident in what you're bringing to the table. And for me, caused for very much of my life a lot of self-doubt and insecurity. And I think it was really driven for me from the fact that I kind of came up in a different way. Like I kind of was at the bottom and worked and worked and worked and worked and went to a public school and, kind of all of these types of things. And not just really kind of understanding who I was and what I was bringing to the table. I'll tell you, the most bizarre thing is in the past year, I'm in a completely different place with it. And I would think that the more I would progress, the more challenging dealing with imposter syndrome would be. But for the past year, it's really kind of settled down for me. Like, don't get me wrong. Does it rear its ugly head every now and then? Yes, absolutely it does. But I think I'm in such a spot now in my career where I mean, you guys work with these people too, but I have the best team.
Yeah.
Such a strong group of operators that I'm blessed to work with every single day. We have such a fantastic group of physician leaders that we get to work with every single day. I think it's because we're really, we operate, we function, and we work so well as a team together that I find a lot of safety and security in that.
Yeah.
And so it's actually, I've been in a much, much better place in the past couple months than I have been for the past 25 years.
That's good.
Yeah. You said something, Tiffany, that kind of connected in this response was when you were, first had your first child and were going through school, you had a leader that said, like, what you specifically said was like, I had this amazing leader and this person would let you leave to go to school. Do you find yourself like in that same position where you're like, this is the type of leader I want to emulate? Like, this is part of a team. This is like, it's not a free for all. We're not just like one person climbing a ladder to the top. Like, it takes a team to get you there.
Yeah. And I mean, the people that I manage now are in a much different spot that I directly manage, but a lot of our PMT members are in very similar, I think, situations, and just trying to be supportive and help people and, like recognize the value that somebody brings to the table, regardless of what their credentials may say behind their name. And I think that was the real thing that I had with my boss, that I remember she said to me, we were just sitting around talking. It was like late in the day and I was getting ready to leave. And she's the one who said, I don't know why you don't go back to school. You're smarter than most of the people who that we work with every day are. And that's when it kind of hit me. It was like, God, do I want to like grow up, and work with people and kind of feel this way when I feel like, just because I didn't have the credentials behind my name, I didn't have a seat at the table. And so that's when I was really like, yeah, I'm going to start doing this. And I'm going to just start taking 2 classes a week, part-time, at noon to 1. And like, we're just going to chip away at it.
Yeah. You got to start somewhere, right? So,
yeah.
Do you think that there are certain groups that experience imposter syndrome more than others?
Oh, for sure. Women, I think we talked about that in the last call, that women are the predominantly target, I think, of imposter syndrome. And we talked about the study where it was like they asked 100 men how many could fly a commercial plane if they needed to in emergency, and like 97 out of the 100 men so that they could figure it out.
Yeah.
Where I think women just tend to think more about things and be a little more like self-critical. And so I definitely think it definitely targets women more.
Yeah.
I'd say that kind of leads into the question I wanted to ask, which was like having to challenge stereotypes. And one thing that I think, well, we all have in common in some ways is we came in here kind of not traditionally, but the way our life, like Tiffany, I had a child obviously young as well. You had a child young. There's some stereotype that comes with that. And like what, or at least that was what I believed, honestly, was that I was, kind of scarred there. But what have you had to challenge certain stereotypes or assumptions about your ability to be an expert in certain areas, just given your background, or given maybe how you showed up at the table a little bit differently and less traditionally?
Well, I think for sure. I think anytime you work in a healthcare setting and you're working with clinicians and you're a non-clinician, there's automatically like you don't know what it's like. You don't, which I don't. And I would never, say to like you or April, like, yes, I do know what it's like to be an APP. No, I don't. I have concepts of what I think it's like. I've spent enough time in hospitals working with providers, but no, I've never had a patient scream at me and a family member yell. I've never had an unexpected death. Like, I've never had to deal with that. I think for me, it's probably why I lean so hard on just data. Of like, at the end of the day, we all can come to a table and have a lot of emotions and a lot of feelings about what's right or wrong. But really, like, the source of truth is always going to be, what is the data telling us? And I think that can really quickly negate a lot of feelings people have.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. I mean, we can, we hear all the time, like, just kind of how the teams feel and like all that, that volume is really high. And then, we can pull the data and we can say, yeah, you're right. Like it is, and yes, you do need help. And we understand that. And so I think as a clinician too, that's sort of validating for them, like to say, oh, they understand. I do feel like this,
Yeah.
So it is nice.
And then really, if the data and the perception don't match, to me, that's an indicator of a bigger problem.
Yeah.
Right. And that's always a good place to start, of like, hey, your perception is your reality, and I respect and totally honor your perception. Right. But this is what the data is saying. So let's talk about what's making you feel this way, or let's talk about, like, there have been instances where, providers have said, hey, I'm really busy. And we're like, well, you're billing 5 patients in a shift and, over 12 hours. And then realize like their credentials were set up wrong. And they were billing and the charges were going to somewhere else, right? And that's a really good opportunity to have a conversation and be like, okay, well, write down every patient you see tomorrow, and then we're going to track it in the data and figure out where's it going. Yeah,
that's true. So you mentioned kind of, you still, your imposter syndrome is much better now, but there's still some days. And so
Mhm.
What do you do to handle that kind of self-doubt those days? And what advice do you have? Like, what practical strategies do you think people can use to kind of overcome imposter syndrome when they're feeling it?
I think there's definitely like opportunity to lean on, a work friend of somebody that you
Yeah.
really trust to
We talked about
be
that,
you.
your
We did talk
bestie, the
about it
work
as a work
besties.
bestie. Um, I think it's sometimes you just have to recognize, like last week was a really tough week. There was
Mhm.
lots of kind of issues happening, and I can usually tell when I start getting a little crispy around the edges of like, "Ugh," it's like schedule some time off, take a break. I think, I
Yeah.
had got off a couple of series of tough calls, and somebody, it might have been you, April. It was you or Susie Akey. Somebody called me. I was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm literally walking around circles in my driveway right now. The sun is out, but I just
Yeah.
had to like get up and
Yeah.
like go outside and just walk around for a little bit."
You
Um,
can tell when Tiffany's outside too, because you're like, "Are you in the jungle?" Or like you just hear the birds,
I have lots of
like all
birds.
these.
I know. I don't know why.
I don't know if there's like that many birds in the jungle. I've never been in the jungle, but
I think the other thing that I'm just like, for me, I think for 2025, the thing that I'm trying to learn how to do is not so much focused on imposter syndrome. It's about giving yourself grace.
mm,
Yeah.
And
yes,
I've recognized as a leader that I give a lot of grace. Like, and if, like, for example, April, if you would call me and you would say, like, "Oh my gosh, I made this huge mistake and this is what happened," I would never think bad about that. I'd be like, "Oh my God, that's terrible. How can I help you fix it? How can we make sure it doesn't happen again?" And
Right.
I would hang up the phone and not think twice about it. I wouldn't never be stewing like April made. Like, I would just kind of be like,
meanwhile,
"Okay."
April is like,
Oh, meanwhile, I will stew
Yeah,
for like
trying to
about a good
lose it.
6 months.
I would never think twice about it. I'm just like, "Yeah, okay, thanks for letting me know. Like, this is what we're gonna do to fix it." But I don't give myself that same grace.
Yeah,
Yeah. It is hard.
And
Like you have high
taking
expectations
your
of
own
yourself and
advice.
it, yeah.
yeah, and so for 2025, for me, it's really been about like stepping back and try to give myself like the same grace that I give
Yep,
others.
yep,
Yeah.
And it's like,
yep.
I could make a tiny mistake that nobody even noticed, that just like I noticed. Or like Mihir or Tony could call me and be like, "Did you do this yet?" And I'd be like, "Oh crap, I forgot."
Yeah,
I will think about that for 3 days.
Oh yeah. Me too.
because you think they're thinking about you for
But
3 days.
it's
But they're
weird, but
not.
I don't think that about other
But that's the
people.
truth. I mean, like
I
that's the
know, like,
insanity of it, right? But you do,
yeah.
you ruminate and you're like, everybody's talking about me, everybody in sound, there's already an email out. I'm not part of the email. I'm being
Yeah,
fired. It's
right.
done. I gotta get my severance package, gotta go, gotta look for another job. It all happens in like 12 hours.
Yeah. My
What
latest thing is like like you guys know we've built a team of APP leads that I work with, and so they're managing, right, like the site to site stuff, and so my to-do list is like getting done, and I'm like, this is really weird. Like, what am I missing? Like, I feel like I'm like missing stuff because I'm like actually getting my stuff done. You know what I mean? Like, it's
and
not
meanwhile, I'm like,
a mile
I'm getting
long.
fired because I don't have a to-do list. So.
Yeah.
Just no, just kidding. I like that perspective because there's times I felt that I'm like I really do feel like a stranger in some of these spaces sometimes. And I wonder for you, Tiffany, like what your experience has been, if you could like just take a magic wand and remove like one barrier for your teams that may make people feel like outsiders, because I think we've all felt like outsiders. That's imposter syndrome, right? Like we
Yeah.
just don't feel like we belong here. But if you could just take one barrier away, what would that barrier be?
Self-doubt.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there definitely are like real barriers and
I
real
was going to say, so are
challenges.
there other barriers? Like
Yeah, I
what's a
mean,
barrier we could do as an org or as a leader to change people who feel like they don't fit in those spaces?
oh, okay, this is gonna be really stupid. This is my like really stupid
Here we
thing.
go, self-doubt. You just did
This
it.
is my self-doubt. So I don't think I've talked about this at another time and place before, but I grew up in a family who drank like Miller Genuine Draft. Right? That was like the fancy, like, we're going out tonight, we're getting a steak and
We're
having
gonna
a
splurge.
Miller. We're gonna splurge and have a steak and a Miller Genuine Draft.
Fair.
Still to this day, I couldn't tell you a single thing about wine, how to order wine. I don't know what the difference is between red wine and white wine or whatever
Same.
kinds of wines there are. So if times that we're at dinners or different things, if people offer a wine selection, I'll just have water because I have no idea.
Not because you don't want to try wine, but you're like, somebody might ask me to smell it.
I know. Or be like, what do you think about that Chardonnay? And I'm like, I have no idea. What
That's pretty.
is right now. No idea. I'm like, what is that? What you're drinking? Oh. So I know that's so silly. But
No, it's not.
I still to this day am just like, man, people, if you're gonna do something like that, like have a non-wine option.
But you do, but it's an outsider thing. So you're talking about like if you bring that into workspaces and you already feel like an outsider. It's kind of that silly, but it is that real where you're like, I don't even know.
Yes.
What this means.
I remember being at a dinner years ago and a leader asking me what my favorite white wine was. And I was just like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Is it white? Is it water?
Is Boone's Farm white wine?
No,
I'm not for sure.
That's funny.
I don't think we've laughed this hard before.
I know. Right?
It's funny because it's true. That's the craziest part. It's like Tiffany, it's like the first time I met leadership and I didn't know who a certain leader was in my organization, and I asked her what she did for the company.
Oh, no.
And I was so embarrassed. It was my first leadership role. I'm like, with all the higher ups of sound, and I shake her hand and I'm like, hi, I'm Alicia. I'm like, what do you do? She's like, I'm the president. And I was like, oh.
You're like, oh God.
White wine, please.
Yeah. White wine here.
I think that happens too, like with all the mnemonic, like all the, little abbreviations that we have for things. Like, I mean, we rattled off a ton of them earlier talking about your roles, Tiffany. And I think people come in and are on a call and you're talking, we talk about something and we use an abbreviation and they're like, what? Like, but then, you don't want to like ask on the call, like, what does that mean? So you're like, quickly Googling what that could stand for.
Yeah.
You have to start asking is what I learned.
Do.
And I would,
yeah.
But let me not say like I was an expert there. I was just like, one day it took me a couple of years. At least I knew my audience that they wouldn't be like, she's completely wacko. But I'm like, what does that mean? I've never heard of that before. It is hard to keep up with, and especially all these complex regional structures.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep up with.
Like, you guys probably feel like this too. Like, I don't have an accounting or a finance background.
Me neither.
And like, first of all, our finance and accounting team at Sound is so amazing. Like those teams are so great to work with. But they'll crack up when I'm on the calls with them and they start talking. I'm like, you're getting too accounting-y. Like, you're saying words. I'm like Googling words. Like, what does this even mean? And just because I think so fundamentally, we can get to the same spot, but I just think so fundamentally different than they do. And they're like, well, you gotta, reverse the accrual to blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I don't can you just make that number say 5? Like, that's
get me there. Line math. Line math.
Yeah.
Line math.
And they're like, no, that doesn't work like that. I'm like, dang it.
I didn't study new math. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Tiffany, it was great to have you back. And any parting advice for our listeners as we think about imposter syndrome and how they can cope if they do have it?
Or for leaders, I think.
Or leaders, yeah.
How do they manage their team so they don't feel that?
I think it's being open, being transparent for leaders, showing up authentically in a space with your people every single day. Mm. And I think if you're feeling those things, it's really about leaning on people you can trust. And the other thing I've really noticed and leaned into is when I start to feel really disconnected, and there are times where just, I'm in a series of meetings for days and it's, project meetings, and I'm feeling just really disconnected from the bedside. The thing I love to do the most, and both of you probably know this about me and most people who work with me, is I love to work on staffing models, like for fun. And, or, I know, it's
I
crazy.
would laugh, just, that's
So
not
when
funny.
I start to feel really just disconnected, I will pick a program that I feel like is really disconnected and like
Aw.
look at their encounters and their productivity by shift and think like, oh man, if you could move your swing up 2 hours, it's going to really help your nocturnist a lot better. And then your day APP could maybe then capture a couple more encounters to really decompress the day team. Like, so for me, it's recognizing that when I'm feeling super disconnected is going back to the things I love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so if the operators or any physician leader get an email from me and say like, hey, I've just been looking at this program and I have an idea. It's because
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
looking to add value somewhere.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know
you
what's
go back to your
interesting?
comfort zone, kind of,
Yeah.
like, right? Like you go back where you're comfortable just
Yeah.
to settle back in. Yeah.
I think what's interesting about that comment too, though, is that when we talked about in the beginning of the episode around like how distant leadership traditionally has felt, at least in certain spaces I've been in. April, I don't know about you, but it always felt like kind of, again, the us and them. And it is interesting when you say that, because I think of that, I like immediately put myself in a clinician mind state and thought, if I got an email from Tiffany, I'd think I was doing something wrong immediately. Like not that you were coming from a place where you're actually like, I've been here and I like, now I'm going to kind of, this is my therapy because I want to see you do better. It doesn't always translate, through an email that way.
Yeah.
And it's kind of transformative change, because there's not a lot of leaders, at least that I've experienced, that are like that. Because it's usually like, I have my job to do, so I have to meet these markers, so I got to like push on my team, and it's like I instead of looking at how can I help make them or us better as a
Yeah.
team. Do you know what I mean? Like I think that's like just interesting, but it's also going to probably be a little bit of a barrier because people, I'm sure, aren't used to a leader like you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you did something wrong, I wouldn't put it in an email. I'd probably pick up the phone and call you.
It's probably not best to put it.
So that 8 a.m. call from Tiffany is when your heart
8
should.
a.m. call.
your heart
Right,
should
but doesn't
sink,
your
Alicia.
heart drop when you see somebody? You're like, I've never got an email from them before. I'm in trouble.
I have one person that when they call me, I go,
Yes, it's immediate.
wonder what's going on.
But you're that person now. That's the craziest part, and that is like the irony. We treat our leaders as if they're not human.
Yeah.
But you used to be like the RDO that was looking. Now people are looking up like, oh crap, like you are that person
Why is Tiffany
that gives
calling
you
me?
some angst.
Yeah.
I like that you're changing that. I love this. I love this conversation. I'm glad we did this, April.
Yeah, me too. Well, and one thing I was thinking too is just from a leadership perspective of what we can do. Like I worked with a leader one time who, we have like one-on-ones every other week or even weekly, I think it was. And they said to me, every call, we're spending the first 5 minutes talking about non-work things, which to
Mhm.
me at first was a very foreign thing. Like I was like, but I have my list and I like want to go through my,
Yeah.
my things. But I've like carried that on to like, the people that I now work with, the team. And I do think it creates that sense of comfort for them, and it lets them see you as a person, right? Because we're not only talking about them, like they'll ask me questions about my kids and whatever.
Yeah.
So we get to know each other. So then, if they're struggling or they need help or something, they're more willing to call me, I think, because you probably do seem a little more approachable. So
Yeah.
a little word of advice for our leaders that are listening,
Yeah.
if you're not already doing that, to try to do something like that so that you create that space for them.
Just like, other things that we experience where leaders come in at certain levels and they don't know the org below them necessarily. But it's not as relatable, but the way we've come up, and maybe Tiffany, the way you've come up, every role
Yep.
and kind of every process. And then people, I don't know, you can just become a little bit more relatable there.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Well, and
Yeah.
I do say the thing I do struggle with sometimes is I know a lot of people in the organization because I've been here a long time and I've been at a lot of different levels. And so I know a lot of the coordinators and a lot of the managers and a lot of the administrators. So I'll just email them directly.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll just drop an email to one of them and be like, hey, I was looking at this, like what's going on here. And I'll forget to loop in their boss.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
there is
Yeah.
also a bad thing to that sometimes where I'm like, oh shoot. Like I don't want to make it too bureaucratic, but sometimes I'm asking because I'm trying to test out my theory. Like, am I wrong? Am I reading this incorrectly? Is the data coming over wrong? Or but yeah, it can definitely be. I've always been like that, and I'm very blessed that I think Mahir and Tony are very much like that. Like
Yeah.
I'm never gonna call somebody to I would never call somebody just to say, I'm gonna tell you about a person who reports to somebody who reports to somebody who reports to you. Hey, can you ask them to do this for me?
Telephone
I'm just
game.
call, yeah.
Right.
I'm just gonna call the person. I would never call Mahir and say, Mahir, can you get April to like do this? Like I would just
Yeah.
call April directly and
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
get that.
easier for me, it's more efficient for me, but sometimes it is challenging for people to live in that sort of environment.
Yeah.
Well, maybe imposter syndrome is a closing thought, but maybe imposter syndrome is half the individual and half the org or the leader.
Yeah.
That creates
Yeah.
an environment for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Till next March.
Yeah. I know. See you next March.
There you go. Well, Tiffany, in all seriousness, it was great having you. So thanks for
It was.
coming
I
back.
haven't laughed this hard on a
Always
Monday
a good
even.
discussion with
I
you.
know.
And to our listeners, thank you again for joining us for another episode. And please listen to us on any platform that you listen to your podcast on. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple. Please subscribe. But if you do have any suggestions or comments or ideas for us, you can reach us at our email, which is oncallpodcast@soundphysicians.com. You
Yep.
can also find us on Instagram at On Call with April and Alicia.
Yep. And until next time, you guys stay well, and we will stay on call. And Tiffany will see you in March
Bye,
2026.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.